Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. Can you all hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Yes.
Yes. Waalaikumsalam.
We are going to start. Thank you for taking time out and being with us here today. I am Dr. Nurasikin Abdul Aziz from TRANSCENT, and I will be the moderator for today. Okay, so it is a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Associate Professor Dr. Nur Shafina binti Muhammad Noor, a pediatrician in our UiTM Medical Specialist Center. Associate Professor Dr. Shafina is going to talk about something which is very much related to all of us. And the title for her talk today is Let's Collaborate a Clinician's Perspective. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, you can drop them at the chat box and I will bring them up at the end of the session. Or you can ask Dr. Shafina directly at the end of her talk later. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Shafina to deliver her talk. Please welcome Dr. Shafina.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Thank you, Shikin, for the kind introduction. Is it clear? Just to check.
Yes, very clear, Dr.
Yes.
All right, okay. Let me try and share my slide. Okay, can everyone see? Shikin, okay? Can you see my slide?
Yes, I can see your slide. Very clear.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Before I start, I would like to thank especially AP Dr. Tuhaira and the TRANSCENT team for the invitation. Today is more like a sharing session. Dr. AP Dr. Rosfa Izzah asked me whether I can talk and share my experience this morning. So I said to her, it's going to be light and easy session. Just a few slides. We can just it's just a sharing session actually. So let's collaborate a clinician's perspective. That is the topic that we have chosen this morning. By all means, I'm not the best example. It's just sharing of the experience I've gone through. I've been here since 2000 and end of 2009. Started with our faculty. So already 10 years. So I'm going to share some of my experience this morning. Some of the overview that hopefully I'm going to cover along the way. As introduction, being a lecturer, I suppose our core responsibilities would be the teaching and learning. And of course, we cannot run away from research. We teach our students, and at the same time, we have to publish our research. But what about being a clinical lecturer? We still have to teach our students, undergrad, postgrad. Of course, we have to do research as well. But we have another track of clinical duties, which is quite heavy for most of the clinical lecturers. So we have three main core responsibilities to be carried out. Having said that, although we know that our clinical duties are very heavy, but we still unfortunately have to embark on our research duties as well, and in the end publish our work. So I'm sure having said that, this brings us a lot of challenges along the way. So I'm sure there are a lot of challenges, but I hope I'll just remind us again of what are the challenges that usually as clinicians face day in and day out. I would say the first challenge would be time. We always say, we always hear the saying that clinicians are busy people. And indeed, we are busy because we have a lot of clinical work. Clinical works meaning it's not just seeing our patients in clinic. Some of us have 2 to 3 times per week clinic in a week. Not just clinic, we do have rounds. We have to do our patients, we have to go and see our patients in the ward as well. And not just that, we have our on calls, which, it is 24 hours. And we have to again see our patients the next day. So we are busy people. But unfortunately, we still have 24 hours like other people as well. Whether we like it or not, we have to make full use of our time. The next challenge, I would say, for me as well, not sure how to embark on research was my first thought when I initially started. Definitely lack of experience. I would say, those who came from a clinical master's program, having finished 4 years of clinical master's, I'm sure you would have some degree of experience in doing research, because that's one of the criteria of graduating from the clinical master's, because you have to start off with your research and finish it off with your thesis. Currently, some of the clinical masters would want you to publish a manuscript, which is a really good thing. So that gives you some degree of experience, I would say. But some of us, like myself, who came for MRCP or MRCPCH, we may not have any research experience whatsoever, because it was not one of the criteria of passing the exam. So we may come in without any much experience of research at all. Guidance, we feel that sometimes we lack of guidance in research, but having said that, the faculty has introduced a lot of measures, a lot of guidance, whereby we can easily seek help in terms of how to proceed. We have a lot of workshops. Previously, how to write proposal, for instance, how to write a manuscript, for instance, at the faculty level, and as well as at the university level as well. And I'm sure you agree with me, this is usually a steep learning curve for everyone in terms of research. Grants, lack of grants. I would say, sometimes you feel that there's not that many grants that is suitable for you, especially at the national level. But I'm sure the universities and the faculties has tried hard to provide these smaller grants, for example, the Lastari grants and so on, that can help you kickstart rather than waiting for the national grant, which is really, really competitive. Did not see the significance of having grants. I used to be one of these people, because somehow I feel that without grants also maybe I can do something. So why do I need grants? But trust me, having grants may help you a lot. You be able to hire research RA, research assistant, your GRA, for instance, to help you in the process along the way. And the other things is lack of experience in preparing proposal grants is one of the challenges I feel. Student supervision is also a challenge to make sure they graduate on time, GOT. a challenge to get the right candidate, because some of us struggle to get a good candidate nowadays, that will give their best to make sure that the research is well taken care of and completed on time. And at least some of us do have clinical masters program, and this will help you in terms of in terms of the research and in terms of your experience in supervising students. But some specialties may not have their clinical masters yet, so I foresee this is as one of the challenge. But at least most of our the faculties in the specialties in our faculties are trying their hard to kickstart the clinical masters, hopefully in the near future. Yes, it is a sharp learning curve even for the supervisors too, and it is a continuous learning process, I suppose, in terms of supervision, not just for the student but also for the supervisors, because we learn, we are still learning as supervisors. Publishing, again, another important aspects. Of course, you are required to publish. If you get a grant, you have the KPI to publish at least 1 or 2 publication, and it has to be index publication, for example. And time is the most common enemy, I suppose, in terms of sitting, because to publish, of course, you need to sit down and really spend time to look at the papers and come up with your manuscript. I always hear that some people just don't like writing. We do have some people like this. I used to be one of this, something like this as well previously. But once you start writing, some people get a hang of it and see that, oh, okay, you do, you can write actually. And then the reason why we are here today is we feel that collaboration is difficult. You don't know how to collaborate. We're not sure who to collaborate with. We're not sure when do we need collaboration, when do we not need collaboration, and why do we need to collaborate. So as we can see, before I go to my to share some of my experience, TRANSCENT is one of the initiatives that has been initiated by the faculty to hopefully bridge the gap and help us to collaborate in the future. So I just, based on the experience, I just want to go through the different types of possibilities, suggestions that we can embark on. First is intra-department collaboration, intra-department research work. I'm sure everyone has been doing this at some point, because this is the easiest. It is easier to be carried on because we are used to working with our colleague in the same department. We have common interests. Pediatrics will have common interests, so will be having the same interests with our colleagues. It can be as simple as case report. We see patients every day, day in, day out, and case report, if you see something that worth sharing in the literature, so that simply can be a research, it can be a publication, and it is counted as similar, it is counted similar as to an original article. So I know sometimes case report is a bit difficult to publish in terms of getting, because some journals are not accepting case report anymore. But you do still have journals which may be Q1 or Q2 that still accept case report. One single case report, if it's really isolated and it's really interesting, it can easily be published. If you have at least 2 cases, that can already be a case series that carries more mark, I suppose. And especially if you would want to increase the acceptance, I suppose, you see the trend of those case reports of case series, including some updated literature review. So apart from just describing on your cases, maybe you can describe on all other cases that has been performed before. So that carried more mark and hopefully increase your chances of getting published into a higher quartile journal. And of course, original article, you can embark on some original article within your same department and publish it somewhere. After intra-department, of course, we're talking about collaboration. We want to collaborate within other departments as well. But yes, indeed, sometimes it can be difficult, but it's not impossible. This is when collaboration is important. The first, I would say, between clinical departments. We have so many clinical departments in our faculty. It's just that I just want to share, because it's a sharing session, I just want to share. I feel this is interesting. I'm not sure whether my ophthalmology colleagues are listening. So it's just that my experience, we have we started this collaboration way back. You could see those are our kids, my 2 of my children and Dr. Azima's from ophthalmology children. So it started off as research collaboration for schools actually. So we entered into the school category just to give experience to our kids presenting at higher level, of course. So they went to the same school. So started from this on, so this project has expanded, and we managed to, of course, we didn't include our kids after that. We went on to IDEX and obtained some awards, and of course we have a few copyright and so on. So starting from just why not we enter into this school competition, something like that, and then it can go on and become a bigger collaboration. And now we have included the Faculty of Health Sciences and also Faculty of Education into this project currently. So it can be within clinical department. It can also, of course, be between clinical and preclinical department. And the reason what TRANSCENT group is trying to help out, of course, trying to bridge the gap between clinical and preclinical department. So I think some of you may have seen their advertisement. So this is what I think we have covered some of these barriers in research. I don't have time. I don't know who knows what. I don't have money, for instance. So we did cover. So hopefully the TRANSCENT group may help us in the future in terms of collaborating between the clinicians and the scientists. The beginning of research usually for me between the clinical and preclinical is a common interest. Actually, I do, just to tell you from my side of story, I do have an interest on BPA, bisphenol A, because it's whenever you look through the journals, especially from the States, it's always highlighted in their newsletter and so on. So that has always been my interest. But initially, of course, it's quite difficult just to start off. You're not sure where to start off, and luckily I managed to speak to Associate Professor Dr. Hamimah. At that point, we met somewhere while waiting for our appointment, for instance. And then, I mean, I didn't know that she also had interest in BPA. So that was where it all started. Of course, it has to start with research grant proposal, because if we are especially going to venture into fundamental research, you can't function without a grant, because you need students to perform your research, especially with us clinicians. I don't know how to handle rats and how to handle mouse, rabbits, for instance. So you do not need a grant proposal. And initially we started with Bestari grant. We managed to secure about 35K. And then of course you need more grants, because it is quite, it can be expensive with, when embarking on fundamental researchers. And I can tell you, it's not one application, because we had to sit down year after year trying to secure grants, a bigger amount of grant. So Alhamdulillah, we managed to secure enough FRGS grants, and this is when we again continue to proceed in our research in fundamental research on BPA. So with that, like I mentioned, with the grants, you would have a postgraduate science masters or PhD in science that will hopefully help you with the research. And now we managed to have international index publication, and the students did a great job writing a review paper, and is under revision currently to be published. And also the students is masters in science, but hopefully we're trying to get her to convert to PhD soon. And after with that as well, we managed to secure an FRGS races to add on to to help with the research work. So that's my experience with research, performing research between clinical and preclinical. I'm sure others would have some, more experience with regards to this as well. To remind everyone, UiTM is a really big university. Sometimes we forget that, mostly we have everything in UiTM. We may not need to look far into other universities to look for collaboration sometimes, but of course, between university collaboration is even better. So we have different faculties, and we just sometimes, we just need to reach out, maybe do some research and ask around to get other collaborations outside of our faculty. Just sharing, this is, I also feel interesting, because sometimes, like, we don't know what are other options out there, but sometimes our colleague in other faculties also not sure what are the experience, what are the experts that are available within our faculty as well. So it goes both ways actually. So I have the opportunity to collaborate with chemical engineering faculties, because they would like to look at patients with type 1 diabetes, and luckily they managed to they got in contact with me. So and we have a student that we're supervising together, and alhamdulillah, some publications along the way, and the students hopefully will graduate on time. And another one is with our next door neighbor, dentistry faculty. So we also have a student that we're collaborating. She is also looking at type 1 diabetes and gum diseases, and hopefully she will continue with studies. She's actually their master students, like our clinical masters as well. And hopefully future publication will come out because for their clinical master, they are also supposed to publish the manuscript to complete their training. Again, you have a lot of research interest group. You have RIG, you have COE, you have high COE. So if you have the opportunity, so maybe this is another way to embark on, because you have the common research interest, and I think in the future there will be like service interest group as well, and the faculties, the hospital, hopefully will in the future help out in terms of grant, from what I heard in the future. So maybe you can, you will form your own research interest group or your service interest group. Some publications of as well. Of course, if you have the common research interest, you'll be able to work together to collaborate and publish some of the publication. Again, don't forget at our MOH colleagues, if you maintain a good relationship, if you have the opportunities, of course, grab the opportunities. You hopefully in our new hospital we'll have more patients, but since currently that we don't have that many, we have been collaborating with our MOH colleague, and of course, if continuing the collaboration is important. I'm sure as a clinician, we go to a lot of, we have to go to, some of us go to subspecialty training. It's good that if you can grab the opportunity while you are doing subspecialty, you have your local supervisors, other universities locally, grab the opportunities to try to collaborate, do some research there, because most of the subspecialty, need you to produce papers, at least one paper or at least one publication before you complete your 3 years usually. And some of us have the opportunity to have that 1 year international training. So it's also I see that as a really good opportunity for you to at least have some collaboration. So I managed to do 1 year in the States. So from the first day, at least I mentioned to my supervisor that I would like to come up with at least one publication for my 1 year stay in her center. So kind enough, she let me work on her data, her research, and we come up with a publication. So again, the other thing for clinician is clinical trial, but of course, it's opportunity doesn't come often. But if you do have the opportunity, by all means, try to join in and be involved in clinical trials. I said it is light and easy, so this is my last slide. I think research is part of our core responsibility as a lecturer, and it will, trust me, it will get easier over time. Always seek guidance if you're not sure. That's to go next. Who to contact, for instance, and as of course, why we are here today. So at least we have to collaborate. And with collaboration, then you would increase research and hopefully give you more outcome. Because you can't work inside. You can work alone, of course, but I suppose the output will be lesser compared to people who work in collaboration. With that, I would like to acknowledge my collaborators, and with that, I thank you. Dr. Shikin, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shafina, for a very enlightening and informative talk just now. All right. So now with that, we will go ahead and take some time for questions from the floor. you can unmute yourself and ask question, or you can also drop the questions in the chat box.
Assalamualaikum. Associate Professor Dr. Nur Shatina, is Tuhaira here. Can you hear me?
Salam. Yes, Prof. Tuhaira. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just have a question. I know you did mention about being able to have the time for the research. In your case, with your clinical work, how did you manage your time for that?
All right, thank you, Prof. Tuhaira. I suppose you have to find time outside of the clinical work. Of course, you have to do your clinical work, but still other days that you're not doing clinical work, the days that you don't have clinics, for instance, the days that after you have finished your rounds, after you have finished with your seeing patients, after finishing your bedside teaching, for instance, you just have to sit down in front of your computer and look at your look at your papers and try, even though adding on just one paragraph or something to it. So it's just that you have to find time, or sometimes at night, I suppose, you just have to find time to sit down and write. You just have to sit down and write. Although it's not easy, you do have times even at night when you're on call, for instance. So it's just that finding that spare time, just sitting down and write. That's all.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tuhaira, for the question. Is there any more questions from the floor? Feel free to ask questions. Or maybe I can ask you one question, Dr. Shafina. Can you share with us the most difficult moment when you first started your collaboration, if there's any, and how do you tackle that?
Thanks again. I wouldn't say difficult, but maybe I would say challenging. Because especially when we're doing research that involves fundamental, maybe basic sciences, for instance, it is quite challenging in terms of we've left that like so many years ago, having had to maybe go in and defend your proposal, and maybe go into ethics committee, trying to defend the proposal might be challenging. But of course, you would do some readings and you would have your collaborators make sure that you bring them along with you to tag along, and at least, if you're not sure, definitely, the help is there for you, to help back you up, I suppose. I would say that is one of the challenges that I have experienced, but that should be able, you should be able to handle that with the help of your co-researchers, your collaborators, anyway.
And the other thing, Dr. Shafina, how do you keep the momentum going in terms of doing proposal and looking for collaborators, and I know one of the challenges is we don't really know the preclinical lecturers, and we don't really know the clinical lecturers to collaborate. So how do you do when you first started? What did you do?
All right. Okay. Thank you, Shikin. I say the thing about the momentum, how to keep the momentum going. I have to admit, my momentum is like you know, one day you're up there, the other day you're down there. I mean, nobody keeps the momentum going there all the time. You know, you break down, I suppose. So you are, I mean, like apa, don't be too hard on yourself. Some days you can be up here, some days you can be here. But I suppose, you know, the days that you down here, sometimes you feel like, yeah, I didn't do anything much today. Like, you know, tomorrow maybe I have to you know, I have to work a bit extra hard, for instance. I mean, like, you know, as long as you know what are your to-do lists, you know, so at least, you know, you have your to-do list for the day. At least you can scratch one to-do list out of your list, and then you add on 3 more. You know, it's never ending. But don't be too hard on yourself. As long as you have the deadlines, so sometimes with the publication, the revision, you would have deadlines set. As long as you know when is your deadline, when is your priority, you'll be okay. And the other thing is, oh yeah, you mentioned about not knowing who to contact, for instance. I mean, like, hence the importance of seeking opinions and seeking help. At least knowing somebody from one department, for instance, maybe knowing somebody in biochemistry, and somebody, you know, if they will be able to help you in terms of, you want to look, let's say you want to look into GI, for instance, they'll be able to help you. Okay, I know this person is good in GI, for instance. You know, or you want somebody in micro, you know, they will be able to help you. And with the start of Transcent, hopefully, you know, you may be able, you have the avenue to, I suppose, to go and try to get help from the group, and they'll be able to help you along the way on who to contact in terms of your research interest.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shafina. Is there any other question to Dr. Shafina?
I think there was a question about COE and RIG. I think Hafiza has already answered. So that is the research interest group that is available in our faculty. So there are a few research interest group which has been initiated. So it follows, if you have the same interest, maybe you can contact one of them. COE's Center of Excellence. Also, we have a few other research interest group. I think you also can form your own research interest group, but there are criteria. Maybe you can look through and ask from the right person in terms of this.
All right. Any more questions? Okay, I think if there is no more questions to Dr. Shafina, I would like to thank Associate Professor Dr. Shafina again for, you know, taking some time out and willing to share with us your very valuable experience on this particular subject. So great. Thank you everyone for your unwavering attention throughout this session. And we truly appreciate all of you being here today. And I hope we can meet again next time. So with that, thank you very much from Transcend. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you. Thank you all. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you.